All right, hello everyone. I'm assuming everyone watching this video is interested in finding new ways to bet smarter on NFL games, and I think I have a fantastic free tool to showcase today. So this tool is called Betlogic.ai and is located on bet-logic.com. The link will be in the description. And this website showcases multiple AI models that I built to help make smarter bets on NFL games. As you can see, this is the homepage for Betlogic.ai, and we have our weekly best bets as well as our 2023 average bet profit located on this page, with the average profit across 130 recommended bets in week one being calculated into that number. Now, at first glance, that 1.75% profit margin doesn't feel high. However, when you're talking in terms of betting, any number above zero with a large enough sample size is going to be great, as well as accounting for the fact that this is a 1.75% increase to your betting portfolio that can compound on a weekly basis. You also do not have to take every single bet that is recommended, and you can select your own to try and increase that profit even further utilizing your sports knowledge. But as you can see located on this homepage, we have the models weekly best bets across three different types of bets with money line, spread, and over under, as well as including the edge that our model has over the sportsbook, or estimated it has over the sportsbook. For the money line bets, this edge number represents the theoretical expected profit of the bet. However, again, this is a very heavy estimation. And for the spread and over-under, that edge number is going to represent the total differential between what our model is predicting and what Vegas is predicting. But I can hop a little further into that when we get into the full betting pages themselves. So diving into the Moneyline Bets page here, we can see our company logo in this column on the left that contains our model's projected odds, as well as our model's projected percent chance of that team, of that team winning the football game. And then to the right of that is going to be the three major sports books, or three of the major sports books with their updated odds below that. Now, full disclaimer, this is not going to be 100% up to date, as this model and the odds only update every 4 hours. So if you see any differences between the sportsbook odds in the tool and what is on the sportsbook website, that is why. So looking at our betting options here, to make it as intuitive as possible, I colored any profitable bets as green. Now, when considering the term profitable bets, this doesn't mean by any means that the bet is going to hit, or even that it is more than likely than not to hit. It's just saying that our model's probability of the bet hitting are much higher than what the implied probability of the sportsbook odds are. So a quick explanation of how implied probability works. Using this implied probability calculator, now, regardless of whether you're going to use this tool or not, figuring out how implied probabilities works is something to improve your ability to sports bet drastically, just to understand what these odds mean. But using this implied probability calculator here, we can calculate what the percent chance of a team needs of winning in order for a bet to be profitable. And you can compare this number to our model's percent chance of winning in order to find out whether a bet is mathematically profitable according to our model. So let's look at the Green Bay Packers here. They have minus 130 on Bovada, so let's go ahead and drop that number in there. Calculate. As you see, a minus 130 means that in order for that to be a profitable bet, the Packers would need to have a greater than 56.5% chance of winning that football game. Now, going over to our model here, hopefully this is not too small to see. I'll do some zooming in. Hopefully it doesn't mess up the website too much. But as you can see, our model has the Packers at 59.6% chance of winning the football game. Now, the reason why that bet is not green, because our model does say that there's about a 3% chance, more likely than what the sportsbook's saying, that they're going to win the football game. The reason why it's not green and not a recommended bet is that we do have a margin of error of around 4 to 5%. I'm not going to go into specifics of how that number is specifically calculated, but it does tend to land around 4 to 5%. But that is why it's not green, and why you see the edge is still considered negative 1% for this bet. But again, for that implied probability, in order for a minus 130 bet to be considered profitable, you would have to think that the Green Bay Packers have a greater than 56.5% chance of winning that football game. All right, so going into our spread bets section here, you're going to have a very similar layout with our models predictions on the left side under the B logo, then the three major sportbook odds on the right side of that as well. The margin of error for whether or not the bet is recommended in this case for the spread is going to be 3 points instead of a percentage. This number was chosen after backtests to find which margin of error threshold would be most profitable. However, I'm not going to dive super into the weeds on how this number was specifically found. Just know that according to the last 10 years of NFL games, that 3-point difference is going to be the most profitable number. So what I mean by a 3-point difference here is if this 7.7 that our model is predicting is more than 3 less than what the sports book it has for its odds, then it will be considered a profitable bet. So for example here, the Raiders, our model has them at plus 4.5, and the Raiders, according to FanDuel, are going to be 9.5. So we have about a 5-point edge on this one. That is going to be considered a profitable bet. All right, hopping over to the over-under page here. As you can see, very similar layout once again, and we're looking at a lot of green overs here. Now, compared to our more refined spread and money line models, which were both highly profitable through last year as well as the first week of the NFL season, the over-under is a very new addition, and it's not nearly as refined yet. So take some of these predictions with a grain of salt. However, if you want to use the page to shop odds or just check out what bets would be mathematically make sense according to our model, then go ahead and check out this page. It's certainly in more of a beta testing phase, and we will get it up and running in full hopefully here in short time. So again, these have been successful models. However, they are still new and being improved, and there's more data being added. So there are some unaccounted for deficiencies within them that I do want to keep fully transparent, throughout the time that I'm kind of advertising and marketing this on YouTube and whatnot. But one of those deficiencies is that if a player is listed as questionable, then they will be considered playing by the model. We don't have a great way of determining whether a questionable player is going to play or what the likelihood of them playing is. But once a player is officially ruled out, then we no longer account for that in the model, and the backup will be considered in the game. For example, last week, Travis Kelce was, the whole world knew he wasn't going to play on Thursday leading up to the game, but he wasn't officially ruled out until, I want to say, Thursday about midday, and he was questionable before that. So before that, he was considered still in the model. Now, if it's an egregious case like that, or there's a high-level quarterback that's listed as questionable, but we know that he's not going to play, I will go and try to make some manual adjustments to the model in order to kind of account for that. But just know that that is, something that is a little deficient in the model. But for example, if we look at the Seattle Seahawks here, you click on the team, it'll take you to this page. Not the prettiest looking page in the world, but I think it does convey the information properly. And you scroll down, you'll see what we consider within their starting lineups here. So Geno Smith, Kenneth Walker, their skill position players, offensive line, defensive line players, linebackers, and DBs, as well as the positional ratings of those specific players that we set for those players. So if a player is included in this starting lineup, then they will be included in the model. And now this kind of leads me to the next deficiency in our model. If there is a backup player, or there's a backup, from most cases, a backup running back that is used very frequently, however, they're not considered in their starting lineup, that will not be accounted for in the model. So take the Green Bay Packers, for example. They have Aaron Jones, who's their starting running back, but they often put A.J. Dillon in there. Or say the Commanders, they have Brian Robinson, however, they often put Antonio Gibson in there. In a lot of cases, it really doesn't make that much of a difference, to be honest. But just know that it doesn't account for those backup running backs or players that aren't necessarily included in that starting lineup. It doesn't include that in the model. And then one other thing that we find is kind of a deficiency in the model is that the model does predict based off of these player grades that we have written down here. With, for example, quarterback rating an 80 goes to Geno Smith, and then we have an aggregate of those positional ratings for the rest of the team. But it also utilizes team statistics, which you can see up here. This is a very good metric. Obviously, knowing how many points a team is scoring on average going into a football game is a great metric to figure out how good the football team or how good the offense is on that team. However, when you're in the earlier weeks, when you're in weeks 1 through 3, there's not a very large sample size, and teams can go on like very hot runs for a couple games. It can kind of skew this data. For example, right now, the Cowboys are averaging 40 points per game, and that looks really, really good to our model. And the Giants are averaging 0 points per game, and that looks really bad to our model. So just keep that in mind. In the earlier weeks, there are going to be some skewed things with teams way overperforming for a singular game or way underperforming for a singular game. We do try to normalize it based off of that week, but it doesn't entirely fix the problem. So just keep that in mind, as it is. But a good way to check to see kind of where our model fits specific teams and what they think of specific teams is to go into this power rankings section here. Now, I will preface this with saying that by no means would we say this is the end all be all for power rankings, or even this is a great list of like 1 through 32, which teams are the best, which teams are the worst. But this is kind of how our model sees them based off of their current week starting roster. So last week, the Chiefs were missing Kelsey. Therefore, they were going to be lower in the power rankings than, a regular season long power rankings would be. But as you can see, there are some strange outliers here. Like the Chargers should probably be about 6 to 7 spots lower. The Raiders should certainly be about 20 spots lower, and the Broncos should probably be about 15 spots lower as well. But the way these power scores are created, this number on the right column here, is we pit that specific team against what would be considered a perfectly average team. They average the average number of points per game, average points allowed per game, average quarterback rating, average skill position rating, and that power score represents the percent chance that our model says of that team beating what would be a perfectly average team if that team was a home team. Of course, that's why it's kind of skewed to the greater than 50% chance than the lower 50% chance. But this is a great tool. Again, I wouldn't take this as the end all be all of power rankings. Like the Steelers are bottom 3. That's because they had a horrible week 1. But I would just use it to see kind of where the biases might exist within our model. So that's kind of how I would utilize this portion of the website. But that's pretty much it, folks. Hopefully you guys can utilize this tool, and hopefully it helps you win some money and whatnot. Go ahead and check us out on Twitter at Bet_Logic_AI, I believe it is. And once again, the website URL for this website is going to be Bet-Logic.com. So go ahead, check it out. Let me know what you think. If you make any great bets, any great parlays with this, then go ahead and send me that parlay you made, and we'll see how it goes. My buddy last week at one point, he put a parlay together with all of our money line recommendations, and just so happened to turn $10 into $2,700. He was able to cash out before the Jets game. Hopefully, a good thing he was, because he had the Bills winning in that game. But he's able to cash out before the Jets game and made about $2,690 on that bet. So hopefully we have some winners out there, and let me know what you think.